Ladies and gentlemen, this is an exclusive interview that we have here today with the Danza Project. My name is Danza.
My name is Cato.
And we have PatrickBet-David. I would like to start by saying we are very grateful for the opportunity to be able to sit down with you. Listen, we've had an interesting past few months. And what we like to start knowing with the people that we have up on our show is men's mental health is super important to us. So where do you sit today mentally with everything that's gone on in the country in recent months?
Where do I sit today mentally myself? So for me, I have very basic guidelines that I followed for myself to, be able to control the stuff that I can't control, and the things that I cannot control, I'm going to do whatever I can, but I'm not going to put too much burden on myself. Many years ago in 2013, 2014, when I'm running my insurance company, I'm going through a phase where I'm about to lose my top two brokers in a company. If I lose them, the entire company shuts down. It's a very chaotic phase. They're both going through divorces. It's nasty. It's not pretty. It's issues. I'm on the road half the time. And then all of a sudden, I'm feeling my palms sweaty. And I'm not talking like Eminem palms sweaty, like bad palms sweaty. You're like, what is going on with this feeling? What is this all about? This anxiety? So I go to a guy one day, and we go to the doctor. My wife's like, I said, I got to find out what's going on with the body. He says, you're dehydrated. You're going through anxiety. You're going through, your body is shutting down. I said, I got to learn more about this. And so I started going through it to try to understand my own body. And then I learned a very basic mechanism that works for me. Anytime I think about the past, that's where depression comes. Mm-hmm. Anytime you spend too much time in the future, that's where anxiety and panic attack comes. I'm generally spending, if this is future, if this is past, I live here. If I spend too much time here, it's too much anxiety. If I even flirt with going back here, you're regretting old decisions. I don't want to go back here. It was a very simple system. Moving forward, what are we doing here? I learned the lessons. What can I learn from it? I don't need to blame or anything. We just move on and we do our part. Yeah. But very concerned for the youth who is going through this without knowing anything about it. We graduated to this. We did not grow up. I don't know your age, but I didn't grow up with this, right? We eventually were like, I'm going to buy a cell phone. I was talking about it the other day. The first time I bought a cell phone, I was 21 years old. It wasn't a cell phone. It was a Nokia, whatever. And then we had the BlackBerry, the Netflix, not Netflix, Nextel, the walkie-talkie. Yeah. So I'm in a very good place myself. But I do know a lot of the youth and younger men, and even some grown men you're dealing with, they're having a hard time with this right now.
Yeah, it seems, I'm 40, and I believe I was about 16 or 17 years old before I first got my hands on a cell phone. A lot of people are disconnected from people that they're with on a day-to-day basis, and they're connected to their phone. So I feel as if when they see things like this, they're more connected to that than they are with their own personal life, and it consumes them to the point where they crash out about it. Do you feel that there's a way for us to alleviate that pressure from people?
In what way? Pressure from people from what way?
These cell phones.
Yeah, so you create rules and boundaries. So for instance, for us, I got 4 kids. None of my kids have social. They all have accounts. I manage every one of them. If you see any of their Instagram account, it's all mine. It's me posting 100%. Wow. They don't do anything. It's just me posting it because later on, I'm going to hand it over to them. So here's your account. Boom. Go do whatever you want to do because depending on what they do, business, anything else, you're going to need some of that later on as you're getting into it. So I'm controlling that here. We have basic rules. If we go to dinner, say you got kids, I got kids. We go to dinner. If we're going to be part of a community, nobody at dinner can have the phone on the table. Everybody hands the phone aside. We put it on a table aside, and we talk to each other. 2 nights ago, I took the guys, our MVPs, maybe last night. No, 2 nights ago, I took them out to Casa D'Angelo. We're going to the restaurant. Everybody else sitting there. 3 guys are on their phones. I said, what are we doing? I said, guys, no phones allowed when we're having dinner. Yeah. Everybody set their phones aside. We had a very good 2.5-hour conversation. It was an incredible conversation. So you create systems. A book came out called Anxious Generation by this guy named Jonathan Haidt. If you haven't read it, it's a must-read for any father and mother, especially if you have a daughter, because the way he breaks it down. He explains what we went through growing up versus what kids are going through today, and in creating boundaries. For example, if you got a 17-year-old kid that's living with you, probably has a cell phone, is probably on social, you can't have the kid have the phone after 8 o'clock. So at 8 o'clock, you know how you have a safe where you put your gun in a safe and you do the fingerprint thing? You have a safe downstairs in the kitchen. Everybody puts their phone there after 8 o'clock. You determine the time, 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock. So why do you do that? You cannot have a phone at 17 years old. It's a thing that you had it at 16, 17. But what do they do when they're in bed and they're just going like this? Endless. So phones got to be aside, iPads got to be aside so they don't have that access to them. And then at 18 years old, God willing, if you did it right, they can do whatever they want to do. But hopefully, we raise them right for them to go out. But the main part is, for whoever's in life, we all have different circles. For example, you have people that are acquaintances. Hey, what up, Johnny? What's up? How you doing? Everything? How's the family? Good to see you. But maybe he's on the 5th circle. Then you have the 4th circle. Hey, good friend of yours. We're friends. 3rd circle. Somebody that's a friend that you trust. 2nd circle. Somebody that's a friend that you trust, that you also enjoy their company. Then D circle, which is only 5 people in here, or 10 people in here. The value of the people in the most important circle better be the same. And if it's the same, great, we roll together. If it's not, I can't do anything with you. It's summertime or, Christmas, we'll go stay somewhere. Let's just say summertime, we'll go to the Hamptons. The only people that stay at that house with us for those 2 weeks or 3 weeks that I'm with the family, it has to be only people that we share same values. If one value is off, we have a problem together. So our kids are hanging out, what they're okay with, what they're not okay with. The most important things, I'm not talking about being so detailed about everything. You're like walking on eggshells. I'm not talking, because everyone wants to be loose and enjoy themselves. But it's very, very important that the most inner circle that you have, your values are similar, because if my kid now goes talks to him, I'm not worried about him talking to him. I want to be able to have him come and talk to you. Right. And he's like, hey, I just had a conversation. What happened? What did I tell you? Well, he told me to do this. And I said, okay, great, awesome. And you're like, hey, man, I had a conversation with your son. He's good. Here's what we talk about. Great, vice versa, right? You can put your guard down. So I think you have to be very protective of that small community, or else, man, kids can pick up some very bad habits today.
The households are very different. So in those moments when you share those spaces, it's like, well, we don't do that here. Well, we do that in my home. And that's when they can pick up some maybe potentially negative
And
habits.
Generally, whoever's the alpha dictates the standards, right? That's the problem. So sometimes if you're not the alpha, but the other person's the alpha, because in this case, they're more successful than you, or they're the older or whatever it may be that they're in, you somehow have to bring that conversation in. And if it doesn't happen, then you're like, look, even though I'm not the alpha, I can't spend a lot of time. I really enjoy the company. It's a lot of value, but it's not the inner. It's going to be on the outer, which we're totally fine with.
When it comes to circles and friend groups and who you align yourself with, whether it's business or personal life, I heard an interesting concept where it's like, in a group of 5, you don't want to be number 5 at the top, the most successful with the most knowledge, but you don't also want to be number 1. You kind of want to be right around number 3. This way you can have the opportunity to learn from the folks above you, and then maybe even guide the folks below you. But you don't want to be so out of your water, out of your depth, but you also don't want to be the smartest person in the room, because you have no one to learn from. So it's very interesting. When you choose your circle, it can very much dictate where you're headed.
Oh, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
Now, you speak about capitalism, systems, and freedom. What do you think the cost of true peace is for a man like yourself?
For me, or I think it's different for everybody, but for me, so at 28 years old, I asked myself who I wanted to be in life. I said, so do I want to be a billionaire? Do I want to be a pastor? Do I want to be this? I'm trying to break down exactly what's going to get my best for the rest of my life. And then finally I'm like, well, do I want to be a leader? No, I want to be a leader amongst leaders. Okay, so what does that mean? If I'm a leader amongst leaders, that means I need to go at a pace that others are not going, and I have a different level of burden that other people gain. Are you okay with that? I am. Great, let's roll. So then you declare that intention, then it's about keeping that intention. Are you going to follow through with that or not? And it's not easy. But for me, it was about wanting to be a leader amongst leaders. And once that decision was made, pursuing that and everything I have going on today to have peace, I don't know if I'm seeking peace. I'm seeking alignment. For me, the currency that matters the most is alignment. If the values and principles I speak about, if my way of living doesn't match the values and principles that I speak about, I'm conflicted and I'm not happy. I'm not aligned. So then I don't have peace. It's because I'm talking about family, but I'm doing drugs on the side, or I'm gambling over here about lost couple $1 million, or I'm, telling my kids this, but I'm doing this. So, and it's not easy to be 100% aligned. Trust me, none of us are 100% aligned because, you don't walk on water. But I'm seeking alignment. And the more aligned I am, I'm not envious of you. I'm not jealous of you. So if I see somebody that's got a six-pack, I'm like, man, he probably does drugs. And no, he probably works his ass off. But it's not a priority for me to have a six-pack. So I admire the guy. I'm like, listen, man, a lot of respect to you for the physique that you have. Unbelievable, right? But if I'm not coming from a place of alignment, I'm envious. He's got a pretty girl. Oh, he's probably this. She's only with them for the money, and she's only with them for this. Yeah. No, listen, good for you. Respect that you got a beautiful girl. He's got a nice car. He must rip people up. No, listen, respect you, because I'm solving my vision. And my vision, once it got very clear on what I wanted to do long term, then it was about the sequencing. Then it was about what's my next 5, 10, 15 moves I got to make. And if I'm able to maneuver around that, and I'm constantly identifying whatever so you graduate just like you play video games, right? I'm on level 7. All right, so what are my next 15 moves at level 7? Okay, great. Now you're level 8. Okay, now you're level 9. Now you're level 10. But sometimes you hit a certain level and you don't add new things to your arsenal and your repertoire, and you're the same person you were 3 levels ago. You can't expect to get to the next level. So, right. But the key word for me that I solve every morning I wake up is alignment.
Is there a belief or a mindset that you've had, that you've built yourself up with, that you now realize you were wrong about?
That I was wrong about? Yeah. So it's funny you say this, because this has happened in the last 2 months. So I read a book many years ago by Andy Grove called Only the Paranoid Survive. And Andy Grove is a Hungarian operator that in Silicon Valley, he is like Steve Jobs looked up to him. Like, that's Andy Grove. Okay, Andy Grove was like a guy that the company he operated, I believe, grew 100% every year for a decade. No one's ever done that. Every year he grew the company, it grew 100%. Boom, 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 for a decade straight. Not 300%, 22%, average is 150. No, 100 no matter what every year, right? That's the reputation he built. So he became a great teacher, and so I'm like, you know what? You got to stay paranoid. You got to be this. What if people are trying to take you out and everyone's trying to do this, And then I read a book 2 months ago. By the way, this just happened recently. So this is not like I figured it out 38 years old. I just turned 47 this weekend. So, and it was called Hanlon's Razor. And if you look up what Hanlon's Razor is about not jumping to conclusion because you think everyone is trying to do something malicious to you, okay? So never attribute malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. So it's like, oh, he did it on purpose. He was trying to do this to me. She did that on purpose. So we had some incident that happened with one of our clients that we do consulting for. We consult for about 10,000 businesses from 60 plus countries. My guys come, that person did this person did this. Why are we jumping to conclusion? Do you know for a fact? No. Have you called them? No. Why don't you use Hanlon's Razor? Call them up, have the conversation with them. Then after you have the conversation, then assess what it is. Don't jump to conclusion. They got on a call. They talked to the guy. It's like, the guy was nothing what we thought he was doing. He was actually all peaceful. He was just doing it this way. And it was our miscommunication. Great, let's move on. I imagine it's like, oh my God, that's it. Take him off the list, remove him. No, just calm down.
Let's get the facts.
Yeah, and I think even today with social media, everybody's automatically, well, that person's did this, and I know what they're doing. And that works. It's good for virality because people want immediate jump to conclusion that somebody was dirty. But guess what made American system strong? Innocent until proven guilty. So guess what? Maybe he just made a bad mistake like we do. Hanlon's Razor. So that simple thing the last 2 months, it just helps have better relationships with people in life.
I read a book called The Science of Social Intelligence, and it starts there. It says that, picture you're walking into a store and you're ordering a drink. and that person seems like they gave you a little bit of an attitude, right? Now you're sitting there, and it's an ego competition. I said I wanted the grande. Like, what did you understand? And now every time this individual walks into that store and that's their cashier, they're immediately conflicted. There's that energy that's there. Now the cashier is sitting there. Every time this customer walks in, I'm getting attitude by them. It's created something there that never existed. What that customer didn't understand that day they walked in to speak to the cashier the first day, their mother just passed away early that morning. So they weren't being rude.
It wasn't for
They
you.
just couldn't find the right words in that moment. And that leads to that, paranoia of this individual has this feeling towards me.
I
and
love
it
those
creates that
stories.
forever.
Have you watched the movie Forge?
I haven't.
You haven't? It just came out a couple months ago. It's worth watching. It came out a few months ago.
Okay.
It's a very good story for a young man, like an 18, 19, 20-year-old man. He needs to watch it. And any father that has a younger son, 14 to 22 years old, watch the movie The Forge. It's incredible. It's incredible. And it's somewhere around what you're talking about that we jumped to conclusion with.
There's been a wild moment about a month ago with Charlie Kirk. Mm-hmm. It's been the story on social media. Can you share a personal story of Charlie Kirk that you have?
Yeah. So which one do I share with you? Well, here's what I will tell you. He's 23 years old. I tell Mario, I say, Mario, I want to go interview this guy named Charlie Kirk. He says, what does he do? He runs this thing called Turning Point USA. He said, really? He seems young. I said, you got to meet this guy. He's putting an event together in Arlington. He's got like 1,000 people there. So I go to the event. Charlie agrees. We're interviewing him, right? And I have shorter hair at the time. This is when I wouldn't, allow my hair to, go long. But I'm sitting with a T-shirt. I'm an entrepreneur. He's sitting right across from me. When you look at this, he looks like a young 23-year-old.
23.
And we're having a conversation. We're going back and forth. And I'm telling him, I said, look, this is great what you're doing, but I think this message needs to go to people like me, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, African American. He said, well, we got 46, Hispanics here and, 22 African Americans. So less than 10% of people here are. So you know what? That's something we're going to work on. I just saw when he answered it that way. It's something we're going to work on. I'm like, all right, cool. We walk away. Mark's like, what do you think about him? I said, this guy's going to be the president one day. He says, you think so? I said, this guy's going to be the president of the United States. He's very, very special. Now watch this. Yeah. 2 years ago, him and I talk. He comes every time he would come to Florida. He'd call me, Pat, can I come on a podcast? Of course. Anytime Charlie would come, we do a podcast together. It's always a great conversation with that guy. Yeah. He's a very unique cat. Anyways, then a bunch of my guys invite him to their event. We have a national conference. I invite him to my annual convention at MGM Grand Arena. So he comes. He says, would you mind if we have lunch together? I said, no problem. He comes to the mansions. Me, him, and Tom Ellsworth have lunch together. And I've never shared this before. And we have lunch together. And the conversation was about when President Trump becomes president and is done with, and his contract expires in December with whoever company was with, people know what company that is. He wants to come to Valuetainment for us to run together, for him to bring his show over here to us. Oh. And that was a conversation we had. I'll tell you exactly what the date is. July of 2023 is when we had that conversation, because that's my July or August of 2023. Charlie is not going to be replaced. Everybody's going to try to be like Charlie. We're going to have different kind of guys that are going to come up. But he was one of a kind. He knew how to debate. He actually liked people. He actually loved people. He was a super competitive guy. His quarterback coach was the same quarterback coach as Pat Mahomes' quarterback coach in high school.
Oh, wow.
So this guy was an athlete. Later on, people realized this guy used to play basketball. His highlights were going viral on TikTok of him hitting threes.
Oh, wow.
Family guy. He went to Hillsdale College's free online courses. Larry Arnn, the guy that runs Hillsdale College, said he went through the course 31 times. No one's ever gone through the course 31 times. It's 270 hours. He went through it 31 times, or some major number that he talked. I think it said 31 times, but I don't know which one he went through. You can't find somebody like that often. The guy was obsessed. He wanted to debate. He was extremely interested in politics and God and faith and philosophy and culture. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, you're not going to get someone like that.
I noticed when describing him, you didn't say, man, he was sharp. Man, he was smart. Man, you didn't say that. You said he was very unique, very special. It's because he embodied a lot of different traits.
Yeah. So, my oldest son, is a very tough guy. He does Muay Thai. If you shake his hands are the same size as my hands. I'm not kidding with you. He has my size hands. His feet, size 10 and a half at 13 years old. He's tough. He's got a very gentle side, but he's got a vicious side. Like
Grit.
And he loves politics. He loves debating. He loves fighting. He loves all of that. But if he's in the room, you'll say, what a nice guy. Just a very easygoing guy. He doesn't cry. He's not a crier. I'm at the conference with Tony Robbins, at the Vault Conference. We got almost 8,000 people at the event that we've sold tickets to. And Tony's on stage. Boom. Charlie Kirk got shot. What are you talking about? Oh. Tony's speaking on stage for 3 hours. He doesn't know what's going on yet. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What's going on here? So Tony's done. I go on stage. The news is he's going to probably make it because they saved him. I'm on stage. Tony, thank you. Boom, boom. We make the announcement. Tony's officially the largest shareholder of, a strategic partner that we brought on board. Boom. He goes off stage. I'm about to pray for Charlie Kirk. Vinny comes out. He goes like this. I said, what do you mean? He says like this. And then Kelly comes and she goes, I said, are you saying what I think you're saying? Yes. Then I go, boom, boom. And I got to pray. I leave that night. I'm in Orlando. My son calls me and says, you have to come home tonight. I said, buddy, I'm in the middle of a conference. I can't come home. He says, I need to talk to you. I come home Friday night. I'm walking with him. We're walking the dogs. I've never seen him break down that way before, ever. Tough kid. And he says, this is a guy, I wasn't ready to lose a guy like this because I really looked up to the way this guy was living, right? Charlie Kirk. And look, we haven't experienced assassination attempts of somebody we admired, where it's like, as kids, you're going through right now at 40. I'm going through it at 46 when it happened. We don't know MLK assassination. We don't know John F. K. If I was a kid coming up, I remember when Magic Johnson, he said he has AIDS, or Tupac when he died and he got shot. Like, that's the closest thing I can. When that happened to Tupac, the entire school, we were devastated when it took place on what happened to him to Vegas. So when he said that, I looked at him, I'm like, wow, kid. I said, I bet millions of other people, probably kids your age, feel this way as well because that was your example. I don't know what that feels like. But, this guy had to get killed for the world to realize how much influence he had. It's so funny because Andrew, who's his partner, kind of like how you guys are the partners on the podcast, Andrew, his partner on the podcast, said, we used to always talk about it and saying, how big do you think our reach is? How much influence do you think we have? How much influence do you think I got, Charlie? And he says, we used to always, maybe it's not as big as we think worldwide and all this other stuff. He says, man, this guy had to die for us to realize how big it was. Yeah. It's amazing, right? The level of impact you're making in the world. So, yeah, it's a tough one. Obviously, it's been almost now 2 months. September, month and a half is where it's been. But this is our modern day Charlie, modern day MLK. And the only difference between him and MLK is the following. There's only 40 to 100 hours of recorded footage of Martin Luther King. You can't study him more than 40 to 100 hours. That's all we got. There's 4,700 hours of Charlie that's recorded, and that's on a low number. This guy's going to be studied and documented and written about and all this stuff for many, many decades to come.
Yeah. How did it feel for you as a father to get that phone call from your son and see him in that condition?
Depth. When you cry because of something like that, it means there's a lot of depth in the individual. And you want to see that with your kids. Yeah. Because you want to see that. Think about the last time you cried for 30 minutes. You have. I have. You have. When was the longest you ever cried? What was that event? Loss of a father, mother, best friend?
Something devastating.
Devastating. Divorce, death of a best friend. It's something, So when I watch you, I'm like, you know what, man? I feel very bad that you're going through this, but buddy, there is depth in your soul, and I'm proud of you. It was a different kind of an internal moment, because when he's going through, I'm just looking at him. I'm looking at him like this, so I've never seen him like this before. I mean, this guy and his brother fight, and I've seen him get into fights, and he's been pushed around and all this stuff. even if you hit him, he's like, doesn't hurt, he's like, he's that guy.
Yeah.
For you to go down, and I'm just looking at him like, I'm confused. I'm like, wow. So it was reassuring that the right values got him emotional. It's very important because it's not like him and Charlie Kirk were best friends, He met Charlie a couple times because I would take him to Turning Point USA. So when we would do the show with Charlie, he would see us, and there's a crowd of 1,000 people. So everybody would point at Tico, and he had a chance to talk to Charlie and all this other stuff. But depth is what it would be.
Yeah, it's not your favorite cartoon show getting canceled.
No, this is a real thing. Yeah, this is a real thing. But it is what it is. I call 2025 the year of surprises. Every year I give a new name for the year, and I call 2025 the year of surprise. Everybody said, "You sure you want to?" I said, "I'm telling you, I have a very weird feeling about 2025." I've been giving every year a name for almost the last 10 years. I said 25 is going to be a year of surprises. It's going to be a very weird year. Some good, some bad, some ugly. So, that was an ugly one.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
We've had very controversial guests on our show. Recently, a gentleman that we've platformed a ton of times, Charleston White, him and I had a falling out. Based on all the things he was saying and everything, I actually pulled his interviews off my channel because I didn't want them on there anymore. He said some very distasteful things about Charlie Kirk, which in turn he started to make jokes about Caucasian people. You sat down with him in an interview. I'm not sure if you're aware of the remarks that he made about Charlie
Absolutely,
Kirk.
yes.
How did that make you feel?
So to me, anybody I sit with, I try to size them up, probably just like you. I grew up in the streets. I'm a 1.8 GPA guy, so it's not like I grew up. My dad doesn't have a degree. He was a cashier at a 99-cent store in Englewood. So you have to be like, ready for anything to go down. So I'm always sizing guests up. And when I sized him up, there was different Charleston Whites. There is the true Charleston White that I remember when I pushed him and he emotionally got angry is when I asked him and I said, "So all this is because of your dad?" Nah, why would I be hurt that my dad wasn't there? He wasn't there. I said, "But maybe that's why you're acting." "No, it's not. He doesn't have that kind of influence over me. Why would he have that?" I said, "So that's Charleston White, the person, right?" And then when I show pictures of Angel Reese and WNBA, and then that's the entertainer Charleston White, right? And then when I go to this, so there's 5 of you out there. Okay, I just need to know who I'm talking to. And then when he started going into trolling Jesus, I'm like, no, listen, it's like you crossing a line now. This is don't touch this topic, trolling. You're disrespecting me. And he kind of backed down a little bit. And he had a smile on his face, which means he was trying to get under my skin, which is fine. There's a difference between a co-host doing it versus a guest doing it. Guest is a little bit more free because it's the guest. Yeah. You invited him. So if you know what he's all about, why'd you invite him in the first place? That's the mindset that I have, right? So, But yeah, I saw what he said about Charlie. Distasteful, but I think that's him trying to find relevancy and going viral and being a troll and all that other stuff. I mean, it's just not a way I or you would ever do it. But he used to go viral for talking about how he would sue all the jobs that he had and all the companies, how he made money off the jobs he had.
Yeah.
I would watch these videos. I'm like, what do you do? I go in there, I document everything, I put in an email, I leave, I quit, and when I document it, I sue them, I got $200,000. From this other company, I got $60,000. From that company, I've never had a job that I didn't sue the company, I didn't get money. I mean, you have to know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So if you're deciding to wrestle with somebody like that, don't be surprised when they, say sometimes what they say.
Yeah.
Well put.
Do you see an off-ramp for the path that America is going down today?
Yes. So did you see the numbers today that was reported on what happened with transgenders, the amount of kids that are transitioning?
No.
How it's split in half from 2 years ago? So 2 years ago, we're here, peak ever. The numbers of what was in 2023 to today, it's split in half. Why?
Yeah.
Think about it. Yeah. By the way, the spike is like this, and then it just goes in half. So what is the spike? Is this TikTok? Is this China's way of trying to divide America? Is this all of a sudden we're seeing everybody that's trying to be transgender, specifically these kids? Is this their way of doing it? Our LGBTQ community is increasing. What happens if more people become gays and lesbians? Oh, let me see. Let's just do pure stats. Forget about social issues. Well, Pat, that's you're homophobic. No. If the more people become gays and lesbians, our birth rate drops. You know what the reports are 2 months ago? It's the lowest birth rate we've ever had in the history of America.
Oh, wow.
If the enemy's trying to beat America, guess what? How do you do it? Get more kids to become part of the LGBTQ. They're not going to have kids. They're going to adopt kids, but they're not going to have their own kids. So what's going to happen? That's purely statistical. It's nothing to do politically or how my feelings are because I'm a Christian and I'm this. No, I'm giving you pure data, right? Very simple. So, for example, you look like you played sports. What sport did you play growing up?
Football.
What did you play growing up?
Football.
Okay. Go pre us playing high school football, right? What did you play? What was the leagues that we played that we got some first time you put a helmet on? Pre-high school. What was it? Pee-wee.
I think it's called Pee Wee. Yeah.
Pee-wee League and all. How old were you the first time you put a helmet on?
Well, I played soccer first, but
Yeah, I started off in high school.
So you started football
Yeah.
with high school. Okay. So what's the first time you played football that was flag football? That was part of a league.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I played street football in Buffalo, New York. Yeah.
Street football.
Yeah.
I was about 9 or 10 years old.
Okay, so what was the program called?
Wildcats soccer.
Okay, so check this out. What if we want to destroy the American soccer system? Not that we have any. We're getting a little bit better, but let's just say we're going to destroy it. You know what I would do? I would go destroy all the young soccer kids that are playing and destroy all those leagues one by one. The less 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds play, 11-year-olds play, guess what? By the time you start playing at 12, 13, it's too late. You're not going to be able to compete. These kids in Brazil are playing with no shoes on in the streets at 3, 4, 5 years old. You want to compete with those guys? Forget about it. It's not going to happen, right? Okay. So if we get the kids early to not want to have family, not want to have kids, not just become gay, I'm winning. Number two, if I get, the female boss, right? Like, I don't need any man, the feminist movement. If I compete against you and you're the enemy, I won't have kids. I'm not going to marry you. You're the enemy. So fewer women are having kids. So all of these things that they did was a brilliant move to lower our birth rate in America to 1.5. The replacement number is 2.1. We're at 1.5 right now. Lowest in the history, right? That's one concern. The other one, when you're saying, long term, I don't know what you believe in. I don't know if you. I don't know if you have a
Catholic.
cross on. I don't know if you're a Catholic, Christianity. Okay, I'm a Christian as well myself. Okay, so some values don't mix together. They just don't. Some just don't mix together. If we go and this is a very controversial position, and I always get issues for it. This is why we're building a wall around this entire 11-acre land that we own. Like, we're literally building a massive wall around this entire place to make it a fort to protect us as much as possible. Because we're not going to stop talking about things like this. Very important to us. But if the best way to judge if somebody was a great father or not, how do you do it? When a man asks me this question, I says, by his kids. He says, no, by his grandkids. Interesting. Did you raise good parents that had good kids? Then you did a good job. So not just based on great kids, did you raise great parents? All right, cool. All right. So how do you judge Armenians, Assyrians, Mexicans, Salvadorians, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, right? Jamaicans, and then you go to Caucasian. We kind of see how they work in their own communities. What do you notice? Stats never lies. So I can sit there and say, it's not fair that they say Armenians do insurance fraud. They do. If you go look at LA in California, a lot of Armenians were tied to medical insurance fraud. Like, hey, put this neck brace on. Act like they hit you. We're going to get $30,000 from the insurance. Guess what? That comes with our community, and I'm half Armenian, so I'm not going to sit here and dispute it. Facts tell you that's what we did. If I tell you, your community has a lot of terrorists, do you think people say they think Puerto Ricans? If I say terrorists, do you think somebody says, oh, that's Filipinos?
Yeah, no.
No, that's Dominicans. No, that's Jamaicans. No, what do you think about? You go to Muslims, right? Yeah. So if you're a Jew and people don't like Jews, great. How do their communities do? How safe are their communities? I'm not a Jew. I'm a Syrian. I'm Armenian. I'm Christian, non-denominational. What do Jewish communities look like? Is it safer? Do they strive? Is there businesses? I don't know. Go study the data. It's not hard to see what's going on with Dearborn in America. It's not hard to go see what's going on in Dallas. It's not hard to go see what Mormons did in Utah. It's actually a very safe place if you want to go to, Mormons and go to Salt Lake City. It's not hard to see what Jehovah does, what 7 Days do. What Muslims, Islamist vision long-term doesn't match what America was founded on. And Pew Research comes out talking about by 2070, Christians will no longer be the majority religion in America. Right now, there's only 4 million Muslims in America. There's about 200 million Christians in America. We used to be 92% of religion, some number like that, 90% of religion. We're at 62% of religion, give or take today, okay? So it's dropped off a lot. It's still a big number that we have, but some number like that. These numbers just came back from Pew Research. The average Muslim in America is 35 years old. The average Christian in America is 54 years old. So we're older. They have younger energy. Look at Mamdani, what he's doing in New York, on fire, energetic, excited, right? Selling his values. So, this whole new conversation that's being had with Supreme Court that they're saying Trump shouldn't be able to use tariffs on other countries. Wait, what? Yeah, he shouldn't be able to put tariffs on other countries. But other countries can put tariffs on us? Yes, but he can't? No. Why are you taking that card away from the president? Why are we taking that? I want you to have, if you're negotiating on my behalf, I want you to have everything accessible to you as a leverage to negotiate against the other guy. So where am I going with this? Here's where I'm going with this. If you and I lived in Afghanistan or Pakistan or some of these majority Muslim nations, we can't be the president there. We can't be senators or Congress and all this stuff. Are you kidding me? For us to go be vocal, we can't do that. There's no way in the world that would allow us. Why can't they do that here? I don't know. Maybe it's something we should entertain. Because if we don't see what's going on with UK and Europe, how London was once the financial capital of the world is no longer, they're destroying themselves. Guess who is the current financial capital of the world? New York City. And Mamdani's about to be the mayor there. What comes next? Who knows? So I just think there's certain things that we're a little bit too tolerant about. We have to no longer solve for tolerance when somebody is trying to take something special that took your founding fathers to build, where we were able to do in 249 years, where other countries or societies couldn't do for 2,000 years. Yeah. It's a special thing that these guys built. And we're beneficiaries of it. You're Jamaican, Puerto Rican, Dominican. I'm Middle Eastern from Iran. We're in America hanging out right now together because of how awesome this place is. We got to kind of keep it that way. Yeah. That's the harder part.
Where do you draw the line? That's the hard part, right? Like, what's reasonable, what's acceptable? Because it's supposed to be everyone's allowed here, but then it's also like...
Everyone's allowed is a different story. I don't have a problem with everyone's allowed. Totally fine on everyone's allowed. But, there's been many times where presidents have not allowed people to come from certain countries to America. Yeah. I think it's very simple. What do you guys do for a living full time? Is it purely podcasting? Is this what it is, or what do you do full time?
Podcasting, investing.
Okay. So do you guys have employees?
Yeah. Yes.
What do we look at when we hire people? We look at resumes. Yeah. And we look at where they come from. And we call references, right? Imagine if you call references on somebody you're trying to hire. Let's make a reference call. Hey, John, this is PatrickBet-David calling you. We're looking at a candidate here. His name is, John Jackson. What can you tell me about him? Oof. Man, he had 3 DUIs when he came here. He got caught smoking weed twice. He hit his boss one time. He stole $6,000 from us. Awesome. We're going to hire him. Thank you so much. Who does that? Right. Nobody. Why is America doing that? I don't understand why America is doing that. You wouldn't treat your company that way. You know what's the biggest company in the world? America. Why are we not more selective on who we're hiring? We should be. Some people will say, well, how did you get here? Well, I went the legal route. I got the green card. We lived in Germany at a refugee camp for a year and a half. Since 1984, my parents were trying to get us to come to America. But we went there for a year and a half. Then we came here legally. And guess what? I served the Army. America's the greatest country in the world. I owe America. America owes me nothing. I feel like I got to give something to it. So I think there are things we need to do to put our foot down and be like, yeah, we're not going to cross the line on this anymore. Didn't work in the past. I see. But it won't be easy. And it's very controversial. Trust me, most people are not going to agree with me on this.
Do you think America's culture wars are really about morality, or is it about power and attention?
Depends on who you're talking about. If you're talking about influencers, if that's where you're going, yeah, that's attention. Because, that's officially the most powerful weapon in the world. This camera right here, right? These three. Nowadays, you can do videos with this and put it out there. And can I spin it a little bit? If I'm more fanatical and more exaggerating and more elusive, is it more attractive for that? Do people want to hear a message of somebody talking like this? So there's a report that came in earlier today that Microsoft is planning on purchasing XYZ company for $7.2 billion. Next story. Someone came in earlier today. There was a crime that, who's listening? Just right now, we just lost 17 odd people that left, right? I'm not going to listen to this voice. Versus, did you guys hear about what happened? I think I know what's going on. Let me tell you what I think. I got a text. I can't tell you who it is, but let me tell you what message I got. I think this is what's going on. And if it is, oh my God, what's going on? So that is talent. That the people have the ability to do that. I'm going to give you a story of a guy. Have you guys ever watched the documentary Provocateur, story of Morton Downey Jr.?
No.
Okay, he's possibly the greatest podcaster of all time, except he had a TV show. He came, his father was a famous singer, and he ends up becoming he gets his own TV show. He passes Montel Williams. He passes Rose, everybody that was on, he passes them. Then he passes Oprah Winfrey. He becomes number one on TV. But you know how long that lasted? 18 months. He would smoke 4 packs of cigarette while he's doing the show. Morton Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Huh?
I used to watch the show.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You're serious. Look at this. So Morton Downey.
Yeah.
There
He
you
was
go.
like the precursor to Howard Stern.
That's right. So this guy was a freaking crazy guy when you put the camera on him. But he was so entertaining. So for a year and a half, he's doing all these stories. And then numbers drop a little bit for him. He's like, oh, shoot, I got to get more attention. What do I do? He tells his producer there in the airport, they get scissors and they get spray, goes in the bathroom, says, cut my hair. He cuts his hair in the weirdest way. He says, put the swastika on my shirt, spray swastika on his shirt. Then they record and said, I was attacked by KKK while I was in the bathroom. And then boom, everybody's show goes back up again. And then a few months later, his producer or whoever he is goes on Phil Donahue and says, that's a lie, never happened. He was done.
Sensationalism backfired.
This direction of going, if you're flirting with the truth and you're just trying to get a bunch of people there, the lifespan is 2 to 5 years. You can't do it for 40 years.
So there's a very popular quote that I heard, and it's undetermined who it came from. It says, if you read the news, you are misinformed. If you don't read the news, you are uninformed. So where do people go to get unbiased information?
Denzel said that in one of the interviews that was taking place. Denzel said, it's actually a video of, I don't know who's the quote, but Denzel said that in an interview, and the lady was trying to find out who you voting for. Why would I tell you? I'm not going to tell you who I voted for. It's actually very, very good. Everybody should watch that clip. I think here's how it works. Many years ago, I want my kids to be drivers and hustlers, but also I want to teach my kids the street side as well, right? So if there's a skill set to teach your kids, what would it be? To me, it was processing issues. What's processing issues? If I can teach you how to debate an issue or process an issue well, then I can let you go in the free world at 18 years old, and then you have to decide who to marry. You have to decide who to befriend. You have to decide who to have unprotected sex with. You have to decide what to eat. You have to decide what to drink. You have to decide. But the biggest skills isn't me thinking for you or isn't me telling you what denomination or what woman to marry. It's to teach you a system on how to process issues. So for me, while you're consuming all the content, it's for you to sit there and say, too fanatical. I give everybody a score. So for me, I give everybody a score. The score I give to everybody is a credibility score. You know how you go buy a house, you have a FICO score, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, 782, 758, 801. Give them $1 million loan. 498, 528, 588. Don't give them nothing, right? I'm not giving you a loan. Watch people's patterns and then give them a credit score. That's all it is. That's all I do. If you got 4 kids. If one of your kids always says the other one hit him, 9 out of 10 times he's lied, guess what? That credibility score is low that his brother hit him, right? Versus one that's like, no, I was there, nothing happened. 10 out of 10, he's solid. I believe him. Why would he say that? So create credibility scores for people you're watching. And if you're watching somebody because you want to be entertained all day, there's a lot of guys that are entertainers, but you're consuming that for one reason. Your purpose is what? I want to be entertained. Awesome. But if you're seeking to find out who has the best method of thinking of what's possible and what could be the reason, whether it's a good issue or bad issue, watch people who seem reasonable, that have a way of processing issues, that will call things in a way where you're going to be like, I give this guy an 85 score. Okay, all right, I know who he's giving it to me. But that's the method of, putting everybody in a category and realizing, yeah, I don't believe anything he says or she says, but damn, she's entertaining.
Yeah.
Damn, he's entertaining. Yeah. I'm just consuming entertainment right now.
Now, I know you're a very busy man, so I know you got some restraints on time.
My daughter is doing, what do you call it? She's cheering tonight at homecoming. So,
Nice.
And this is the first time she's doing it. So 9 years old.
Wow.
So we got. So I'm going to go straight from here. So we got 15 more minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
So speaking of these characters, right? Stephen A. Smith recently made some statements about the gambling scandal that went on with Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier. And he mentioned that Trump has it out for the WNBA, for the NBA, and he had something to do with it. Then we hear from Kash Patel, and he says it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What do you make of the words that Stephen A. Smith had?
Great question. So Stephen A. and I spoke yesterday. We exchanged messages. Here's where I agree with them and where I agree with Kash. One, this started 2 years ago. So this is not a Trump investigation. Everybody knows that it's not a Trump investigation. It's Biden's administration that the FBI was investigating this. But then now it's being, done under Trump's administration. However, do you think Kash Patel made the decision independently to go in front of the camera, or do you think he had to get the approval by Trump? What do you think?
I think he would have needed the approval.
I think so as well. So guess what Trump would say? Hey, boss, this is about to be leaked, and it's a terrible look for the NBA. Do you want me to just drop somebody else, or do you want me to do a press conference? Tell me the stories. Boom, boom, boom. Go ahead and do it. Do I think he approved that? I think he did. Why? Because LeBron James called the president a bum. Many years ago, when Steph Curry didn't want to go to the White House, he called him a bum. You called the president a bum? Michael never called any president a bum. Kobe never called anybody a bum. Magic Johnson didn't call anybody a bum. You want to call the president a bum? No problem. Then while the president is in the White House, you want to put end racism and Black Lives Matter and all this stuff, make him look bad. While your NBA playoffs, all you guys that are so careful about COVID, what state does the NBA playoffs host their playoffs? Florida. Why Florida? It's because it's the freest state. So if there was no Florida, you can't run your playoffs in California. You had to come to Florida, right? You think Trump's going to forget that? I don't think he's going to forget that. So do I think there's ties with LeBron and other things? I don't know. Damian James, I think one of his teammates that were boys, if you're leaking information whether LeBron's going to play or not, that's
Damian
insider
Jones,
information. Yeah. What's his name?
Damian Jones.
Damian Jones, yes. And he is a LeBron guy. So it's not like he is going to throw LeBron under the bus. However, Shaq said something yesterday on, whatever the new show is called, Inside the NBA. I don't know if they still call it that. He says, at the beginning of the season, they always tell you, if your friends ask you if one of your teammates is playing, always say yes. They tell you that. That's pretty wild, right? So they tell you, is Kobe going to be playing? Yes. Yes. Even if you know they're not going to be playing, say yes. Because it is true insider information if you think about it, right? Guys are waging against it. Tim Donahue was a friend. He's the guy that was a referee that went away and did time because he was helping out the mob. He did 3 deals with the mob, and he says, I'll never do anything again. And then they're not going to release him, so he did it for many, many years. I said, you think this is it? He says, no. He says, I think they're just getting started. I said, you think there's going to be bigger superstars? There's a very high likelihood there could be bigger superstars. Why do you think, why Chauncey? $7 million you helped them win over the years, the mob that using this technology with these glasses that you can see the king and the queen and all this other stuff. Oh, yeah. Why would you do that? Why would Rozier, who's getting $160 million career earnings, is making $26,600 a year? You're doing it because you leave after 9 minutes, so you don't hit the minimum, so the guy comes and delivers $200,000. So why do you do the high of gambling? Because it's addicting. It's not about the amount of money you could be making because it's so this. So to go back to it, I understand what Kash is saying, but I also agree that Trump will never, Dana White said something so powerful a couple of days ago. I saw this clip. He says, if you're good to me, I'm the best friend. He says, I'm very good at being a friend. But if you want to be an enemy, I'm also very good at that. You think Trump is good at being an enemy?
Absolutely.
Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? So that's what I think about it.
Wow.
Everything that's going on with the Charlie Kirk situation, I wanted to get back to that for a second. There's a lot of stories going around. You know, you're mentioning how people are looking for attention. You hear Candace Owens speak and many others. They don't believe what's going on. Where do you stand with that?
Oh, I don't have any problem with you not believing what's going on because I don't know what's going on, right? I mean, I started an insurance company. I've been in the financial services industry for 25, 26 years. We sold 800,000 insurance policies. Do you know every single time a client would die because of suicide, you know who's the first person they would look at? Who's the spouse?
Yeah.
But that's not like, oh, it's the spouse. That's protocol. Mm-hmm. If I come to your house right now, and my job is I'm a cop. If I go to the house, the wife's got a shot in her, bullet in her head, bleeding. Who's the first person you're going to think did something? Yeah. It's the husband, vice versa. So that's one thing to be thinking about. So I think that's just basic protocol when you hear stories about that. But, I want to know who benefited the most. That's the biggest question you always answer. Who benefited the most from this? Who is it?
Start there.
When you start there and you think about, did somebody get more eyeballs? Did somebody get more money? Did somebody get more this? Did somebody eliminate? Did Jews really win by eliminating Charlie? I don't think so, actually. Charlie was the one that was holding on to everybody like this. He was a guy that would talk to Tucker and bring him to TPUSA and bring Dave Smith to do a debate, but he would go out there and talk to pastors and preachers and churches. So I think he was a pro-Israel guy. And he said, Netanyahu said one time, he said that he's on a whole different level. He had good relationship with Bill Ackman, great relationship with Trump, great relationship with Netanyahu. He had a good relationship with Candace. He had a good relationship with so many different people. He was a true synergist. So, but if we can sit there and think about who benefited from it and who was behind it, who was hurting, because go back to the transgender conversation we had earlier, right? Numbers go up. More people joining the LGBTQ, fewer kids being born, the enemy is winning. Then comes this young guy, creates an organization called Turning Point USA, and he's telling everybody, have kids, get married, do this, believe in God, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. That's the complete opposite. So who is that doesn't want this? Is that Soros? Is that the other new guy's name that came up, which I don't know if you guys are seeing this one globalist Marxist that's coming out with... I forget his name. We talked about him the last two podcasts. Back to back, we've been talking about this guy. Is it one of them? Who knows? But to me, I want to hear everybody ask the questions. Everybody ask the questions. I'll tell you a crazy story one time. Being in insurance, there was this guy named Matt Fletcher. You can actually Google this. It's a crazy story. He used to be part of an insurance company. He leaves, goes to the other insurance company. At the previous company, he recruits a cop. He recruits this cop, and he's trying to help him become an insurance agent. While he meets the cop, he meets the cop's wife. Him and the cop's wife start an affair.
Oh, brother.
Obviously, this is not good. By the way, this guy's a player, not player with women, but player like he's very good at what he does in insurance.
The Money Matt guy?
No, this is a different guy.
Okay,
no, it's Matt Fletcher. So
okay, excuse me.
He and the cop's wife are now in love. They sell the cop $1 million insurance policy. They decide to take him out. They do. They kill the cop. They get an insurance policy, big $1 million death benefit, I think the claim was. He leaves the insurance company, goes to a different insurance company. While he's at this insurance company, next thing you know, reports coming out that you were behind it. And the wife was behind it. And then boom, that happens. That's the insurance space I'm in. So when you're in the insurance space, those are the stories we deal with. You always go and check to see why did the cop get killed? Who was the first person is this? But that doesn't mean in this case, Erica's the person. Is she on the list of 50 people they should look at? Of course, because that's what these guys do. That's their job. When they all of a sudden say, nobody at that university, there's a gag order for a couple thousand people, that's a little weird. I'm not a fan of gag orders. Let people talk. How am I going to find out on what happened? We got 3,000 people with cell phone footage. Let me see what happened there. That's the biggest assassination attempt in our lifetime on social media world that we're talking about in America. So, all I'm interested in is question, investigate. But Hanlon's razor. give everybody the benefit of the doubt until we find out exactly what happened. That's what I'm for.
My last two questions for you are this. You're also a name that came up on that list. This show was supposed to happen about a month ago, and we had to push it back because you also wanted to boost your security. As you're saying, you're trying to build a fort out here. What went through your mind in that moment where the FBI contacts you and says you're on a list?
For me, number one is alignment, like I said to you earlier. As long as I'm aligned with the man upstairs, I am not really... If I told you the kind of a life I've lived right now, most people wouldn't believe it. If I said to you, you know, I'm a kid that was born and raised in Tehran, Iran, and we're living on a street called Khiyaban Hojat, and we're getting bombed on by Saddam, Iraq, they're coming over, and we escape to one city called Rasht. He starts bombing Rasht, so we go to Bandar Pahlavi. He bombs a city we escaped to called Karaj. He starts bombing Karaj, so we escape there. And then eventually, you know, my mom says we got to take our son out of the country because he's going to have to serve the military. My dad agrees. We go to Germany. Year and a half, my parents get a divorce while we're in Germany. My dad's here. He serves her anyways. It was nasty. We come here. I go high school 1.8. I joined the Army. And then afterwards, I've been to 40-plus countries. I've traveled the world. I've had the opportunity to have dinner with presidents, prime ministers. I've spoken in front of God knows how many people and, you know, been to all these random places, owner of the Yankees, minority owner. I've been to incredible sporting events. I've had the greatest food in life. Wow. I've met some incredible people. I'm the luckiest man alive. But if he says it's your time, I am fully respecting of it. There is nothing that I'm like, well, the only thing is walking my daughters down the aisle, seeing their dreams become a reality. And I believe God right now is looking for some soldiers for the next 4 decades. And if he gives me that job and that feeling I have on my belly, right now I am hot because we're talking about very important topics. I have fire in my belly.
Let's go.
I didn't put this here. You put it here. What do you want me to do with it? If you want me to do something with it, make it clear. If you think it's too much of me, I'm good as well. But I'm going to do my part. So, you know, the thought of any of that stuff is more people around me that are concerned. And anybody that works close to me, I want to make sure they're also protected. That's the difference. I like driving cars. Actually, I really do. I like driving. Like if we go to Orlando, I want to drive. It's 3 hours of driving. I love driving. I love being in a car with you and we're having a conversation. Tell me about your story. Where are you from? I love that. I'm not driving no more. You know, someone's driving me around. I'm not used to that. I have to, I'm the control, like I'm driving it. But it is what it is. You know, freedom, like we're thinking our life is so hard right now. We have such risks. Go to what the founding fathers did. What do we do compared to those guys? Nothing. Nothing. We work in buildings that are hot. There's heaters. There's AC. We have the best kind of clothes, tools. You know, if the conditions are bad, we have such great protection. We're traveling in planes. They didn't do that. We're going from L.A. to Miami in 5.5 hours. You know how long it would take them to make that trip? We are the luckiest people alive. Luckiest. Anything above this is dessert for me. But if he does allow me to go till 90, which is what my request is, we're going to do our best to make him very proud.
Congratulations on all your success. It's an amazing
story.
story.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
My final question for you is, you mentioned Trump being a phenomenal enemy. Diddy had a lot of words for him in the past. He needs Trump for this pardon. There's a report out from TMZ that he is thinking about pardoning him. White House denied it. However, TMZ is standing firm with their story, saying no, he's definitely considering. Should he?
TMZ also celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination. Let's not forget that. Like, that has to be reminded forever and ever and ever to come, because for a business that has cameras everywhere, they could have simply showed the clip to say, oh, they were celebrating a guy that was going on a chase. Nobody celebrates that. That chase, when it was taking place, being reported on ABC, I'm following that myself. They announced Charlie Kirk got assassinated and is dead, and you hear the smiling and the laughing in the background. That's what you hear. So let's set aside TMZ. They've done a great job up until this moment. Very disappointed with what they did. Anyways, going back to Diddy and Trump. Here's the thing about Trump. What's the likelihood that he's going to pardon Diddy? Pretty high. Why? Trump is unpredictable. And Trump, understands the guys that were, went through having some issues and all this other stuff. Because what did he say the other day on the plane when they asked him, "You're going to go to heaven?" He said, "I'm definitely not going to heaven." He said, "I don't think there's anything I can do to go to heaven." He said this on one of the Air Force One interviews that he was having. But would I be surprised if they say Trump pardoned Diddy? I wouldn't be surprised. Would I be surprised if he didn't? I wouldn't be surprised. I think Trump is capable of doing either. I do think Diddy, like a lot of other people, talked a lot of shit about Trump, snooped it in 2017, and then now he said good thing about him. Some of these guys, there's a difference, because some people you can give them $100 million to say, tell the world Trump is a horrible human being, and he said this, they'll do it. You pay them $100 million and support Trump, they'll do it. Some people you can't do that with. You can't do that with. Some people are not for sale. And do I think Diddy is for sale? Of course he's for sale. Everything about his life is about transactional. When we're at Charlie's memorial, one of these guys gets up and talks, Sergio something, at Gore or something like that. And he says, what's the one thing about the industry of politics? He says, everybody is so transactional. He says, the one person that wasn't to me is Charlie Kirk. He wasn't transactional. Diddy's a transactional person. Who can he use next and climb up and all this other stuff? Of course, credit to his success and everything that he did and all this other stuff. I've never liked him. I'm a Tupac guy. My opinion, I've interviewed Greg Kading. I went through a whole rabbit hole to try to find out who took Tupac out. I think Suge Knight one day calls me out of jail when he's in prison, and he says, "Yo, P, you need to know this. The hood fucks with you." And I said, "Well, I appreciate it." He says, we watch PBD here and all this other stuff. I said, so we're having the conversation. I'm not a Diddy guy at all. I think there's a lot of words I can use for Diddy. Just not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of him. I think he was behind a lot of I think when you go back and study who benefited the most on what happened with Biggie, and anyways, this is not a good person, but I don't know how deep Trump is in that. Trump is like, he's solving world problems. He's not solving West Coast, East Coast rap problems. That's not his. Peace in the Middle East. He's peace in the Middle East. He's not trying to worry about what happened there. But yeah, Diddy, not a good guy.
Not a good guy.
Heard you.
Patrick, I appreciate your time greatly. This has
Anytime.
been phenomenal. Hopefully we can follow up on this sometimes, because I got hundreds of questions.
I really enjoy talking to you guys. This was great. Appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you very much.
Anytime.
Orlando, go ahead, sign us off.
Another one.